and let them remember, and this one, if they cannot remember anything that I've said today, remember, William Ruto has good memory for bad things.
Good memory for bad things?
Yeah. That's why at the beginning I thought Kindiki would have been a better running mate to Ruto, because Kindiki would have almost, is meek, but if you are dealing with Rigathi, mtoto wa Mau Mau, you are in trouble.
You're in trouble.
You're in trouble. Gachagua is being realistic. I told you, Gachagua, I had informed Rig G much earlier that he has to be careful. Presidency is the president and some funny guys, including Oscar Sudi. That's the presidency. He himself is supposed to be part of presidency officially, but you can be shunted out of the presidency in terms of decision making while you appear to be one of them.
And you're just in time for Richard Mwenje Exclusive, your only point of call on matters political and governance analysis here in Kenya and across the region. I'm yours truly, son of the soil, Richard Mwenje. Today is slightly under the weather, but pardon me. And today we are discussing a cocktail of issues in the world of politics. Our subject for the day, the main subject being the Limuru 3 meeting that took place and what came out of it. We shall cross over and discuss other issues in the political arena. But first things first, allow me to introduce our analyst for the day, none other than the think tank himself, former minister Ruto, Arab Kirwa, in his trademark Kaunda suits. You're still doing them to this date?
Yes, I enjoy because they are more relaxed. You know, the tie can restrict you. And at times the neck may just be feeling some pain. So that the Kaunda suit comes in handy. And as you know, Trans Nzoia is also, the weather is good. So if you go there in a suit, you are likely to remove the coat. So Kaunda suit is suitable for all kind of conditions. And nowadays they do. There are at times some of them are lined with something warm. So you can easily enjoy the weather and the dress code.
Are you not afraid that maybe the president of the day, His Excellency William Ruto, could be trying to steal your thunder? I mean, you are synonymous with the trademark Kaunda suits.
Yes. No. I think he has come to like it. You know, he's my friend. Many people don't know that we worked together very early in his political career. So possibly he's enjoying what the elder brother is doing. And I also enjoy at times, I see him dress very well in counter suit. But there are some colors I would not want him to dress, like what he had on Labor Day. Now he was behaving like he's now one of the labor movement leaders.
Being in sync with the temperature of the day.
Oh, but you see, I think the president must remain presidential. You remember even choir masters, they wear a different outfit. So
from the singers themselves.
From the singers themselves. So at times it's good to be a choir master, to distinguish yourself from the crowd. That's the essence of leadership. Yeah.
I have seen a number of former elected members of parliament, former ministers, try to embrace the president of the day just so they can get something for themselves, something going for themselves, either an appointment or even business interest to go their way. Are you not afraid that maybe you could be heading into the political cold and also your interest could be at stake, not being in the side of the president of the day?
No, the beauty is that I'm not a serious businessman. I'm just a small-scale farmer. So you cannot catch me anywhere. And I'm not interested in more money. The pension I'm getting, the little rent I'm getting, and what I get from the farm is enough for me and my children. And also it's good to make my children realize not all is well, so that they start looking for what they need to use beyond my lifetime. Yeah.
Some of your colleagues back then, former ministers, PSS, are now the talk of the talk in town, billionaires, really wealthy people. Don't you feel left out from that crowd?
No, I never compete. I never compete with my friends. Even when I was a member of parliament for the period I served, which is close to 20 years, I was not in competition with anybody. Some of them had a home in Nairobi before I had. Some of them had big tracts of land. But I said, whatever, and remember, go to all our parcels of land. We have not utilized it 100%. Even somebody who has 100 acres or even 20 acres like me and you, we've not utilized the entirety of it. There is still farmers. There is a good friend of mine in Murang'a. He has 6 acres of land, and part of it is parceled out for tea. and some of it is the house and the dairy. And he has 138 head of cattle. He takes to the dairy close to 3,000 liters in every 2 days, and it's only 6 acres. Your farm in Mosbridge and your farm in Nyakinywa could be more than that, but possibly you may have 1 or 2 cows. So some of these things is, even the little land that you have, you can use it conveniently. Remember, even in a desert like that one of Kalahari Desert in Namibia, livestock farmers import silage from South Africa, and they give livestock and prepare them for slaughter. You go to a 1 feedlot, they are feeding about 4,000 head of cattle in a dry place, a desert. So it is only that we have not utilized all the resources that we have. So it's not the number of acres that you have that matter. It is how you've utilized every space that God has given you, or you inherited, bought, or whatever way you got it. But of course, grabbing of it is not one of the considerations I would put in the books. Yeah.
Allow me get this off the way. What do you make of the recent altercation between Gatundu South Member of Parliament Kagombe, in his company wa Alice Nganga, Member of Parliament and Majority Leader in the National Assembly, Kimani Ichung'wah, whereby the MP opened fire, or it is said, it is alleged he opened fire to the crowd that was there, which had become hostile over time. Even in your heydays as the Member of Parliament for Cherangani and even as a minister, did we see that being part and parcel of the politics of the day, whereby an MP can open fire for the electorate or even disgrace himself because before the very same people who elected them to office?
Well, it is unfortunate because you see, as a leader, I used to carry walking stick. And elders one time sat me down because, you know, at times you go to a place where people are not happy with you. They told me, the stick that you carry, it is an abomination for you to use that stick to hit anybody. Walking stick, the normal mkwaju, I still have it in my car. Because that was my symbol
Of authority.
They told me that thing is meant to lead people. It's not meant to hurt people. So for even a politician to carry a gun, knowing that he's going to a public place, already has declared war on those people. Because Raila will not kill you unless there is something you've done. I was there for 20 years. Yes, there might have been some hostility up and pale, but Raila will never kill a leader unless a stray stone hits you. Otherwise, Raila, they are very calm. The people of Kenya are very calm. The people of Kenya are peace-minded. So unless you provoke them, and when you realize they are sufficiently annoyed, you just conveniently avoid them. Don't go and confront them, because you cannot change them. Once people are annoyed with you, whatever you do, you are making them even worse. I remember in 2007, and I like giving examples, I realized one section of my constituency was totally persuaded they were going ODM. In my campaign, I avoided that section because I said these people have voted for me 4 times. This time I know they have changed their mind. Why should I go and provoke them?
You give them wiggle room to express themselves.
Yes, I said let them express themselves. Some voted for me, some did not vote for me. And that is the essence of politics. You don't expect 100% people to like you. And at times, and I've seen in Cherangani there are 52 farms. At times one farm does not support you in this election. And in 5 years, you treat them without telling them, I know you didn't vote for me. Next election, they vote for you.
They embrace you.
They embrace you. So people are not fixated in their hate for leaders. But leaders can easily overshoot the runway by behaving in a way as if they own the people.
To what then do you credit these bad manners? Who could be the author of this problem? Because it is not only Kagombe who is alleged to have opened fire to the crowd. We've seen present-day members of parliament do so and elected leaders.
I think it's become a norm that is increasing popularity of bad manners. and that is lack of effective leadership. I don't want to blame it on anybody, but you see the post-election violence that took place, especially in many parts of Rift Valley, that was the beginning of this episode of bad manners. Because I remember immediately after elections, I had lost, and my pickup Land Cruiser was going to Eldoret to pick a niece of mine who had passed on natural causes. It was stopped at Soy by people who said this is so and so car, and they wanted to ban it. It took the intervention of others to stop them from, because I was in PNU, they were in ODM. And you could not understand when Uhuru was working with Ruto 5 years down the road. It is a sign that some people are totally politically intolerant. Because I've known William Ruto much earlier. The fact that I did not believe in ODM in 2007, I believed in President Kibaki, could not make him almost incite people to violence. So my vehicle came back, we waited. Later on, we went to pick the body from Eldoret, and we buried our niece. So, you know, there are people who, in their own habit, I'm not saying is the start of all this, but I don't think he minds when his opponents are decimated. Yeah.
Very well. And now talking deeper on the subject of Limuru 3 meeting, which in the words of a section of Mount Kenya leaders, they said it was a meeting that was to chart the path for the socio-economic and political future of the region. But we are now in the aftermath of the meeting, and case in point, for Kapseret Member of Parliament Oscar Sudi, he's come forth and dismissed the meeting and its impact, saying it has zero impact and there should be no cause for alarm, neither should President Ruto be worried about the outcome of the meeting. Could we see a case whereby some quarters are living in denial, or true to the matter, it wasn't something that should shake President Ruto or his administration?
Well, I don't know whether President Ruto was the target. I think this is a national discourse that we should have among all Kenyans and ask ourselves, yes, this regime has been here for the last 2 years. Are we likely to have more benefit from it going forward? Are they listening to us? When it comes to issues of taxation, it is affecting Kenyans across the country. And the most hit are people of Mount Kenya, because they are the people who have houses. And therefore, when there is some taxes on house proceeds, they suffer. Now there is car circulation taxes, it's affecting them. There is, of course, the issue of farm inputs that the president has promised that is going to subsidize largely to ensure that the cost of feeding animals comes down. It has not come down. So all these, and of course there was even proposed tax on mangoes and avocado and so forth. And even of course maize. So all those raft of taxes are affecting them, and leaders have a right to discuss. But as you know, the Mount Kenya bloc is a huge bloc in this country, huge in terms of numbers, huge in terms of strategic positioning. They are the people who are almost in the money economy compared to the rest of us. Realize that almost 70% of Kenyans are not in the money economy. They are basically subsistence farmers. When they feed themselves, they celebrate. But the Mount Kenya bloc, they have moved into money economy much earlier, using the cash crops like tea, like coffee, and businesses. All these are being affected by the current regime because of taxation and policies that are not encouraging improvement of business empire or business environment. And number two, it seems the president has realized that the way Anne Waiguru said one time, that you can rent a Kikuyu, but you cannot buy him.
You can't own one.
You can't own one, but you can rent one. So now, possibly he has realized that the people he can rent are diminishing in numbers, and he runs the risk of losing the election. And it is is right to do so, because a block of about 26% of the total voting capacity in Kenya is something that can worry you.
Very well.
And you must be worried. And being worried, you would want to put some spanner in the works so that they split their forces and possibly will be able to salvage one or two fellows and take to his side. The only thing that I would have recommended to the Mount Kenya bloc is that as you do this, distill the issues, allow them to be cross-cutting issues that affect somebody in Nyanza, somebody in Lodwar, somebody in Mandera, somebody at the coast. Because when people talk of one man, one vote,
1 shilling,
1 shilling, people think it will benefit the Kikuyus alone. Even us in Trans Nzoia will benefit from that. But that is not my consideration. My consideration is that let us look at this money issue in a way that we make it a resource challenge or a resource conflict. Because if you don't make it a resource conflict and you make people believe you have another agenda, because I've told you before, Richard, there are two sources of conflict. One is a resource, conflicting over resource, whether it's water, whether it's grass, whether it is maize, whether it's shamba, whether it's money in the bank, whatever it is, that is one level. The higher level is over belief, that I believe in this and you believe in this, and we'll never reconcile. It is harder to resolve that. But this issue of one man, one vote, one shilling should be factored in a way that you are able to have certain constants. Perhaps in my own suggestion, 60% can be according to the population. The rest of 40% can go to the landmass and historical injustices. For your information, some of the communities at independence, part of their territory was in Uganda, like the Pokot. The former Kachiliba constituency was in Uganda, and it was being administered from the Karamojo district of Uganda. And this is an agreement between two individuals, one in Kenya who was a governor here, and the other one was a governor in Uganda, that because of these skirmishes between the Karamoja and the Pokot, they agreed in 1929
Karamajong.
yeah, that this section of Pokot should be administered from Uganda. And that thing took effect in 1931. And they said for 40 years, this agreement is as follows. This section of the Pokot is going to go to Uganda to be administered from there. After all, Uganda and Kenya were British colonies. So the agreement ended in 1971. That is when that section of Pokot came back to Kenya. And nobody even ever talked about it. Nobody even celebrated. So they call it Kenya Mpya, of course currently Kachiliba. So these are historical injustices that we feel we should be able to address. So those are the three areas, so that the equalization fund addresses the historical injustice. Then there is the landmass, because there is one clinic here and another one 80 kilometers. There should be other clinics in between. Then the first one is the population. You cannot ignore the population. And we cannot pretend, really, we cannot pretend that the population is not a factor, because money is about people. Yeah, resources about people. But population should not be the only factor. For example, let me give you.
Sure.
Trans Nzoia is the size of Kiambu. And Trans Nzoia, we have around 900,000 people. And in Kiambu, we have 2.5 million people. Pokot County, Trans Nzoia can enter Pokot County 4 times. And yet they have a population that Trans Nzoia is 1.5 times bigger than theirs. Yes, bigger than theirs. The same landmass as Trans Nzoia, as I've told you, Kiambu. When you go to Vihiga with a population of 500,000, the landmass of Vihiga will enter Trans Nzoia 5 times. What is it telling you? There are more people per area in Vihiga than per
square meter.
Per square kilometer than Trans Nzoia. So, in terms of infrastructure, the infrastructure in Trans Nzoia is expansive. But in Vihiga, it's also complicated because somebody 1 acre here, another one there. So, these are parameters that we must consider as we do issues of resource
revenue allocation.
Revenue allocation.
Very well.
We should not be oblivious of that.
Sticking to the arena of the one man, one vote, 1 shilling, President Ruto is on record stating that he won't, under his administration, he won't allow one community to progress over the other. And many political pundits feel he was addressing the gamer community. Would you say then that somewhat explains his pin drop silence on that agenda of the day about 1 man, 1 shilling, 1 vote?
Well, I think he was doing it for politics at that time. He knew practically. I've told you even Nandi, they would benefit more from 1 man, 1 shilling. Even Wasingishu, where the president comes from. But you know we've refused, and I've said it before, it doesn't need a PhD student to decipher that issue. It needs a good student, second year from University of Nairobi, who has done statistics and computer.
Or economics.
Yeah, and possibly basic economics, to do permutations and give us that, yes, what is the cake? It's about 3 trillion. Let's assume it is 3 trillion for argument's sake. What's the cake that's supposed to be distributed to the counties? So much. Then do your permutations. Use scale factor of 60% population, 20% land mass, 20% historical injustices. And you just need to do basic research.
Analysis.
Yes, and you do your analysis from that research. So it doesn't need a really serious, complicated mind. It's only that it is in our mind. We have lifted the issue of resource into a belief. Because when it is belief, you cannot resolve. Nobody would want even to talk about it. Even the people who have been now lambasting the deputy president, they are not giving serious facts. They are making it tribal. And it's not tribal. It is real. It is real. You know, when I took over Cherangani constituency, we had only 8 secondary schools. I left when we had 34 secondary schools. And we were doing all that through Arambe because we did not have CDF. So as a matter of fact, when you are talking of a population, it means you need more schools. Some of the schools that started with about 10 students, today they have 800 students. And others have been split, like Kega secondary school has been split into girls and boys. St. Mark's Cherangani, girls and boys. Kablamai, they have split into Kablamai and Kimoson for the girls. And yet, for those 20 years, that is what was happening because the population was increasing. I left when the population of my constituency, not population, voters in my constituency were about 70,000. I started when there were 23,000. It tells you they were almost going 4 times the population that I inherited the first time I became an MP. So these are facts. It's about people, it's about conditions on the ground, and it's about history of that particular place.
Talking about it being about people and the conditions and reality on the ground,
Yeah.
let me have your view on the sentiments of DP Rigathi Gachagua, in which he says, I, Rigathi Gachagua, will never fight my brother or my sister. We have learned our lesson. Other regions are not fighting. People want our region to fight so that we get lost. You've mentioned that probably President Ruto is using the divide and conquer rule so that he doesn't lose it all when it comes to the Mount Kenya vote basket in 2027. Do you consider that Rigathi Gachagua has finally read the room?
I think he's a good student of William. Because William, basically what he did was just to use all terms. At one time he was saying the president shall be under 60. Now that he's approaching 60, he's no longer talking about it.
This could be about populism from Gachagua?
Who?
Do you consider this part of...
No. Gachagua is being realistic. I told you, Gachagua, I had informed Rig G much earlier that he has to be careful. Presidency is the president and some funny guys, including Oscar Sudi. That's the presidency. He himself is supposed to be part of presidency officially, but you can be shunted out of the presidency in terms of decision making while you appear to be one of them. So that you look funny. At the corridor, people pass you as if you are nothing. You saw even the body language at the airport. I was very keen. There was a moment of tension, and immediately he finished greeting the president, he clapped his hands. Rigji. It tells you there was so much tension. You know, when you see somebody moving, like at times I move like this,
True.
possibly there could be tension, or there are so many ideas coming into my mind, and I'm not able to process them slowly and sort of smoothly.
The restlessness speaks to a bigger danger.
Yeah. Yeah, a danger that you might miss a good word, or you might miss a point, or you might miss a slap.
Very well.
Yeah.
Now that we've seen a section of Kenya Kwanza leaders allied to President Ruto dismissing the impact or lack of it of Limuru 3 meeting, would you then say that for Rigathi Gachagua, he should not be deemed as a traitor in the temple? He should also embrace those who are part of Limuru 3 meeting like Wamshomba, because maybe they are speaking truth to power, and the rest under Ruto are afraid of telling the king he is naked.
Well, what you should do is to carefully and privately do some kind of build rapprochement. Have rapprochement with some of the leaders, starting with the Kenyatta family, some of the people in Kenya Kwanza, some of the people in the opposition, and reach out to the rest of the country. And if the need does arise, he can square it out with his president, with his boss. Or if he's going to opt out, he can opt out and move into an arrangement that he will remain deputy president with higher respect than in the current arrangement. Otherwise, I'm not seeing them getting back together. Both of them are strong-headed individuals. The beauty with Kenyatta and Ruto, Kenyatta was shy from controversy, but none of the two is shy from controversy. That's why at the beginning I thought Kindiki would have been a better running mate to Ruto, because Kindiki would have almost, is meek, but if you are dealing with Rigathi, mtoto wa Mau Mau, you are in trouble.
You're in trouble.
You're in trouble.
We have seen a number of members of parliament and other elected leaders grace the Limuru 3 meeting. Case in point, Gathoni Wamshomba MP for Githunguri, Mark Mwenje. And there are those who believe that they are traitors in the temple. Some feel they shouldn't have come forth and gave birth to this new outfit that is Haki Coalition. For people like Wamshomba, Mark Mwenje, would you advise them to maybe back off and remain true to their primary coalitions like Azimio and Kenya Kwanza for the two people?
No coalition has formed the government twice for the last 25 years. Even this one of Kenya Kwanza is just preparing for a split or a political disaster. They should not go back. And let them remember, and this one, if they cannot remember anything that I've said today, remember, William Ruto has good memory for bad things.
Good memory for bad things?
Yeah.
No matter the 1,000 goods you do to him?
No. You'll remember the day you left him.
And do you think history will judge Wamshomba and people like Mark Mwenje fairly, who are now deemed to be betrayers of Azimio and Kenya Kwanza coalitions, just because they are associated with the Limuru 3 meeting and what came out of the meeting? There
was no crime in Limuru 3. It was the family saying, let us sit down and we take stock of what is happening. I've only said what they should have done is also to look at cross-cutting issues so that they communicate to the rest of us. We believe what they are saying is the truth. We believe what they are doing is rightfully so. Because we cannot pretend Kenya is still tribal. The moment that we'll reduce, because these political parties are just vessels organized by individuals. They are useless vessels. There are no political parties in Kenya. Even with the new constitutional dispensation, in 2020 constitution, we still have the ugly side of tribalism with us defining our politics. Oh, I'm telling you. You know, all this regional balance. Yeah, sure. Where is regional balance in Kenya Kwanza today? You know, you just go to KRA, go to the police, go to the military. Unless you have money to buy some of the positions, you cannot get. And the people who are given are the cronies of the president. So tribalism is still in this town. And we don't trust each other because we have trust deficit. You know, at independence, what happened? Mzee Kenyatta says we are fighting ignorance, disease, and poverty. He forgot to say we are going for high ideals. Yes, we still need to fight that, but we should go for high ideals against tribalism, against Udini, and against Ubabe. You know, somebody loading on the rest of us. So he forgot. He should have said that, so that you are a servant. Remember the president of Zambia the other day, Achilema, President Achilema. When he took over office, they wanted to buy him some new vehicles. He asked the team, are there no vehicles that the former president was using? He was told, but they are old. But are they still moving? They told him, yes. I'm not going to sign any check to buy vehicles. Here, they took over. They bought vehicles worth 800 billion. 800 million. Almost $1 billion shillings worth. Which vehicles are these? A good Mercedes today goes for about 20 million. So how many were they buying? For the three offices, the president, the deputy president, and prime cabinet secretary and ministers. 800 billion? 800 million? Yeah, it is million, not billion. 800 million. So really, it's an extravagance. They say cut your cloth according to your size, but he himself is wearing double the cloth.
Double the cloth.
Yeah.
Let's advance that conversation. After the Limuru 3 meeting, Oscar Sudi, Member of Parliament for Kapseret, has been the only politician who's gone full throttle in saying it was a meeting that was ethnic-centered, tribal-centered, and that there's need for us to shun from tribal politics in Kenya. This is a person very close to the president of the day, and many would think he's also speaking on the behalf of the president. Would you somewhat also doubt that clarion call from Oscar Sudi and maybe render it as a hypocritical one? Because you've said we still have tribalism define our politics.
Even when we are at home, they blame some of us that we are not towing the line. Eti tunasukuma mtu wetu. Even when I come to this studio, they feel bad that I'm saying the things I'm saying. They know it is true. We were sold fake fertilizer. We were sold poisoned sugar. We were sold
edible oil, maybe?
Yeah, oil that does not meet the standards, and many other things. They know it is true, but they are ashamed. Ask Sudi. You know, some people are lucky to be where they are.
He seems to have had a Damascus moment and he's trying to be a more political gentleman and high on bigger ideals.
You should tell us which class did he leave school under the documents under ESCC. Yeah, why does he have a case in court? If he's a very honest person, that he has diploma, that he went to Kenya Institute of Management. He goes in as a Luo lady. That is the admission number. He comes out as somebody Kimutai.
Are you envious of the position and achievements he has scaled this far?
I don't even want the position. I cannot be envious of a position that somebody has not earned. I would be envious of the position the president is holding because he worked for it. But Oscar Sudi, ooh.
There you have it. That point takes us to the wrap of this conversation today, talking on matters to do with the Limuru 3 meeting and what came out of it, and also the politics of the mountain. I'm talking about Mount Kenya region, which seems to be receiving some high temperatures there. We wait to see how that shall unravel in the fullness of time. And we've also given good counsel to Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, that is from Minister himself, on how better he can forge his political future. We advance this conversation about Limuru 3 on our next edition. We wait to see you there. Keep it up, Kirwa.
Yes.
Always a privilege to have you on board. You use so much wisdom and people are shocked. How comes you still have facts at your fingertips? Some facts going as back as 30 years ago. Because at your age.
I enjoy. I used to read newspapers. The Weekly Review assisted me a lot. And I like people. Even those who don't like me, I like them because I think this world would be boring. If you gave me the whole of Kenya, minus the rest of you, I will be in the wilderness. But it is your presence and my presence that makes Kenya interesting.
Very well.
Yeah.
So subtle of you. Until next time on Richard Mwenje Exclusive, do enjoy the rest of your viewing.